In 1887, a domestic manual published in London told housewives they needed exactly 3 things for a spotless home: vinegar, beeswax, and elbow grease. No sprays, no plastic bottles, no warning labels telling you not to breathe in your own kitchen. Today, the average British household spends over £500 a year on cleaning products. But here is the uncomfortable truth. Victorian homes were cleaner than ours. Not a little cleaner. Dramatically cleaner. Their carpets lasted decades. Their brass never tarnished. Their windows gleamed without leaving a single streak. Number 14 on this list was so effective that a major chemical company in the 1950s actually lobbied to have it removed from household advice columns. And number 7 creates a reaction that modern science has confirmed kills bacteria more effectively than most shop-bought disinfectants. These were not superstitions. They were methods refined across an entire empire, passed from mother to daughter in handwritten household books that families guarded like recipes. The cleaning industry is now worth £3.5 billion a year in Britain alone. That industry exists because we forgot what our great-grandmothers knew. Before we start, hit that subscribe button because what you are about to learn could replace half the bottles under your kitchen sink. Let us count down the 20 smartest Victorian cleaning habits that vanished from British homes. Number 20. The doorstep whitening ritual. Every Friday morning, Victorian housewives across terraced Britain got down on their knees and scrubbed the front doorstep with a block of donkey stone. These pale sandstone blocks, sold door to door for a halfpenny each, were rubbed in circular motions across wet stone until the step turned gleaming cream or white. The color of your doorstep told the entire street how you kept your home. A yellow stone meant you were respectable. A white stone meant you were proud. A dirty step meant the neighbors talked. The abrasive sandstone lifted grime from porous stone surfaces better than any modern pressure washer, and that residue left behind actually repelled dirt for days. Mill towns in Lancashire and Yorkshire kept this tradition alive well into the 1960s. Children were sent to the corner shop for a fresh block the way we send them for milk. When concrete replaced stone and front gardens replaced doorsteps, the ritual vanished almost overnight. Number 19. Tea leaf carpet sweeping. Before vacuum cleaners existed, your great-grandmother saved used tea leaves from the pot, spread them damp across the carpet, and swept them up with a stiff broom. The damp leaves trapped dust and hair instead of sending it airborne, acting as a natural filter that pulled dirt from carpet fibers. A pot of tea cost about a penny in the 1880s, and the leaves did double duty. The tannins in the tea also neutralized odors, leaving rooms smelling fresh without perfume. Mrs. Beeton's Book of Household Management recommended this method specifically for drawing rooms where visitors would be received. The whole ritual took 15 minutes and used nothing but waste from the breakfast table. When Hoover launched their first electric vacuum in British shops in the 1920s, tea leaf sweeping was dismissed as old-fashioned. But those early vacuums missed what the tea leaves caught: the fine dust particles that settle deep in woven fibers. Number 18. Vinegar and newspaper glass cleaning. Victorian housewives mixed equal parts white vinegar and water in a basin, dipped a crumpled sheet of newspaper into it, and polished every window in the house until it squeaked. The ink in Victorian newspaper was carbon-based and mildly abrasive, buffing glass to a streak-free shine that modern microfiber cloths struggle to match. The acetic acid in vinegar dissolved hard water deposits and grease without leaving residue. A bottle of vinegar cost twopence and lasted a month. Newspaper was free after father finished reading it. The whole house could be done in under an hour. Every pane would catch the light like crystal. Neighbors judged your windows the way they judged your doorstep. Spotless glass meant a spotless character. When chemical glass cleaners arrived in the 1950s, promising speed and convenience, the vinegar bottle moved from the windowsill to the pantry. But those blue sprays leave a chemical film that actually attracts dust faster. The Victorians had a cleaner window with a cheaper solution. We just stopped believing it worked. Number 17. beeswax and turpentine furniture polish. Your great-grandmother made her own furniture polish by melting beeswax into turpentine over a gentle flame. The warm mixture was stirred until creamy, poured into a tin, and left to set. Applied with a soft cloth and buffed with another, this paste fed the wood, filled tiny scratches, and left a deep, lustrous shine that smelled of honey and pine. A block of beeswax from the local chandler cost about 4p and made enough polish to last 6 months. The wax created a protective barrier that repelled water and dust. Victorian mahogany tables polished this way for 50 years still glow in antique shops today. Commercial spray polishes contain silicone that sits on the surface looking shiny but actually dries wood out over time, causing cracks and dullness within a few years. The Victorians understood that wood is alive. It needs feeding, not coating. That homemade paste did both, and a single application lasted weeks between buffings. Number 16. Salt for cast iron maintenance. Victorian cooks never washed their cast iron pans with soap and water. Instead, they scattered a handful of coarse salt into the warm pan after cooking, scrubbed with a folded cloth and wiped clean. The salt crystals acted as a gentle abrasive, lifting food residue without stripping the seasoning that had built up over years of daily use. A pound of cooking salt cost less than a penny and lasted months. That seasoned layer, generations of oil baked into the iron at high heat, created a non-stick surface that modern Teflon tries to replicate with chemicals that flake off within 2 years. Victorian cast iron pans were passed from mother to daughter as wedding gifts, each one improving with age. The salt method preserved this inheritance. Soap would have destroyed it. When washing up liquid became standard in the 1950s, families started scrubbing their cast iron the same way they scrubbed everything else and wondered why food suddenly stuck. We replaced a method that cost nothing and lasted forever with one that costs £15 a pan and needs replacing every few years. Number 15. Lemon juice brass and copper polish. The butler's pantry in every Victorian household kept a bowl of cut lemons and a dish of salt, ready for polishing brass and copper. A lemon half dipped in fine salt was rubbed across tarnished door handles, letterboxes and coal scuttles. The citric acid dissolved the oxidation layer while the salt provided gentle abrasion. Within minutes, dull green copper returned to gleaming warmth and blackened brass shone like gold. A single lemon and a pinch of salt cleaned every piece of brassware in the house. The cost was negligible. The result was immediate and lasted for weeks in well-ventilated rooms. Lemons were plentiful in Victorian Britain, shipped from the Mediterranean, and every kitchen kept them. Commercial brass cleaners now contain ammonia and harsh solvents that pit the metal over time and leave fumes strong enough to sting your eyes. The Victorian lemon method was kinder to the metal, kinder to the hands, and left the pantry smelling like a grove rather than a chemical works. First pattern break. Here is where it gets fascinating. The Victorians did not just clean their homes. They engineered cleaning systems. Every task had a day. Monday was washing, Tuesday was ironing, Wednesday was mending, Thursday was marketing, Friday was cleaning, Saturday was baking. This rigid schedule was not obsessive, it was efficient. By dedicating each day to a single task, Victorian housewives avoided the chaos of trying to do everything at once. They worked methodically from top to bottom, room to room, using the same few ingredients in different combinations. What took them a focused morning takes us scattered hours across the week with 20 different products. They had a system, we have a cupboard full of bottles, and somehow they finished cleaner. Number 14. Soda crystals for everything. Washing soda, or soda crystals, was the single most important cleaning product in the Victorian home. Dissolved in hot water, it cut through grease on kitchen ranges, stripped grime from flagstone floors, softened hard water for laundry, and unblocked drains. A penny bag lasted a week and replaced what would today cost £30 in specialist sprays. Mrs. Beeton listed it in nearly every cleaning instruction. Housewives dissolved a handful in the washing copper to lift stains from cotton shirts. They scrubbed kitchen tables with a paste of soda and water that left the wood pale and sanitized. They poured a strong solution down the kitchen sink every Friday night. The alkaline compound broke down organic grease and animal fat without damaging surfaces or hands if diluted properly. When Procter & Gamble and Lever Brothers began marketing purpose-specific cleaners in the 1920s and 30s, they positioned soda crystals as primitive and outdated. Advertising campaigns specifically targeted the washing soda habit, telling modern housewives they deserved better. Sales of soda crystals collapsed within 2 decades. But the chemistry has not changed. Sodium carbonate still does everything it did in 1880. You can still buy it for 80 pence at the supermarket. Most people walk straight past it. Number 13. Bread for wallpaper cleaning. Victorian parlours with their elaborate wallpapers needed regular cleaning, but water would ruin the paste and stain the patterns. The solution was a ball of fresh bread dough. Housewives would take a fist-sized lump of unbaked bread dough, press it firmly against the wallpaper and peel it away. The sticky surface lifted soot, dust and coal smoke from the paper without leaving moisture or marks. The dough was kneaded after each press to fold the dirt inside and present a clean surface. One batch of bread dough, costing almost nothing, cleaned an entire room. This is not folklore. The method works because raw gluten is tacky enough to bond with surface particles, but not aggressive enough to tear delicate paper. When washable vinyl wallpapers arrived in the 1960s, the bread trick became unnecessary. But for anyone with heritage wallpaper or delicate surfaces, it remains superior to any spray. Number 12. The sand and hearthstone floor scrub. Stone kitchen floors in Victorian houses were scrubbed weekly with fine sand and water. Housewives scattered damp sand across the flagstones, got down on hands and knees with a hard bristle brush, and scrubbed in long, even strokes. The sand acted as an abrasive that scoured grease and embedded dirt from the porous stone without chemicals. After scrubbing, the floor was rinsed with clean water and left to dry. Some housewives finished with a coat of hearthstone, a soft, chalky block rubbed across the dry flags to leave them looking uniformly pale and fresh. Sand cost nothing if you lived near the coast, and pennies from the ironmonger if you did not. A hearthstone block lasted months. The combination left kitchen floors so clean you could eat off the stone. When linoleum and vinyl flooring replaced stone in the 20th century, the sand scrub became irrelevant. But for the thousands of homes now restoring original flagstone floors, this Victorian method remains the safest and most effective way to clean them without damage. Number 11. Borax laundry whitening. Before optical brighteners and chlorine bleach, Victorian housewives kept their whites brilliant with borax. A tablespoon dissolved in the washing water softened it, boosted the cleaning power of soap, and gently bleached yellowed cotton back to crisp white. Borax was sold at every chemist for about twopence an ounce and appeared in nearly every Victorian laundry guide. Mixed into a paste with lemon juice, it tackled stubborn stains on collars and cuffs that even vigorous scrubbing could not shift. The alkaline mineral also killed bacteria in the wash, making it especially useful for bed linens and handkerchiefs during flu season. Hospital laundries used borax solutions right through the First World War. When synthetic detergents arrived in the 1930s and 40s, borax was quietly pushed aside. Persil and Tide promised whiter whites with less effort, but they contained chemicals that irritated skin and degraded fabric faster. The Victorians kept their linens for a lifetime. We buy new sheets every 2 years. Second pattern break. Now here is something the cleaning companies really do not want you thinking about. The Victorians spent less on cleaning their entire home than we spend on a single bottle of specialist kitchen spray. They used maybe 5 ingredients total: vinegar, soda crystals, beeswax, borax, and soap. 5. Walk down the cleaning aisle at any supermarket and count the products. Separate sprays for kitchen surfaces, bathroom tiles, glass, wood, stainless steel, oven interiors, hobtops, limescale, mold, drains, toilets, and floors. Each one is essentially a variation of the same few active chemicals in different colored bottles with different scents. The Victorian housewife would have laughed. She cleaned everything with 5 ingredients for less than £1 a month. and her home was cleaner. That is not nostalgia, that is arithmetic. Number 10. Camphor for moth prevention. Victorian housewives tucked small blocks of camphor into wardrobes, drawers, and blanket chests to protect woolens from moth damage. The sharp medicinal smell of camphor crystals repelled clothes moths so effectively that garments stored with them survived decades without a single hole. A block cost about 2p from the chemist and lasted an entire season. The vapor permeated wool fibers without staining or leaving residue, and the scent faded quickly once garments were aired. Lavender sachets were the gentler alternative, tucked between folded linens and petticoats, their dried flowers crushed to release oils that moths found unbearable. Both methods were passive and required no monitoring. Modern mothballs contain naphthalene or paradichlorobenzene, chemicals now classified as possible carcinogens. The Victorians achieved the same protection with a tree resin and a garden herb. Number 9. Elbow grease and the blacklead range. The kitchen range was the heart of the Victorian home, and keeping it gleaming black was a point of fierce pride. Every morning, the housewife or kitchen maid applied blacklead paste to the cast iron surface with a stiff brush, working it into every groove and hinge, then buffed with a separate soft brush until the metal shone like polished jet. Blacklead was a mixture of graphite and a binding agent, sold in small blocks for a penny. The graphite layer protected the iron from rust, repelled moisture, and created a surface that was easy to wipe clean after cooking. A well-blackleaded range could be wiped down with a damp cloth during the day without any further product. The ritual was hard work. Hands turned grey, knees ached, but the result was a range that performed better and lasted longer. When gas and electric cookers replaced the iron range, blackleading died overnight. The irony is that graphite is now sold as a premium industrial lubricant for high-end kitchen equipment at 50 times the price Victorian housewives paid. Number 8. White vinegar drain maintenance. Every Friday evening, Victorian housewives poured a kettle of boiling water down the kitchen drain, followed by half a pint of white vinegar. The acetic acid dissolved grease buildup and soap residue that narrowed the pipes throughout the week. Once a month, they added a handful of soda crystals first, letting the alkaline fizz react with the vinegar's acid to create a foaming action that scoured pipe walls clean. The combined cost was less than a half-penny per treatment. The drains never blocked, the kitchen never smelled. Modern drain cleaners contain sodium hydroxide, strong enough to cause chemical burns and corrode old pipes. The Victorian method was gentler, cheaper, and worked just as well. Number 7. Sunlight as disinfectant. Victorian housewives understood something that science did not formally prove until the 20th century. Direct sunlight kills bacteria. Bed linens, mattresses, and pillows were regularly hung outdoors in direct sun, even in winter. Sick room bedding was always sun-aired before being returned to use. Cutting boards and kitchen cloths were placed on south-facing windowsills for hours. The ultraviolet light in sunlight destroys bacterial DNA, making it one of the most effective disinfectants available. The Victorians observed that rooms with good light stayed healthier, and they designed their cleaning routines around maximizing sun exposure for fabrics and surfaces. Modern research published in the journal Microbiome confirmed in 2018 that rooms exposed to daylight harbor significantly fewer viable bacteria than dark rooms. We now spray chemical disinfectants on surfaces that sunlight would sanitize for free. Our great-grandmothers simply opened the curtains and turned the mattress. It cost nothing. It worked better. Number 6. Chalk for marble and stone polishing. In wealthier Victorian homes, marble fireplaces, washstands, and hallway floors were cleaned with a paste of crushed chalk and water. The fine calcium carbonate particles polished marble without scratching, unlike the acidic cleaners that dissolved the stone surface over time. Housewives mixed the chalk to a thin paste, applied it with a soft cloth, allowed it to dry, then buffed away the residue. The marble gleamed without chemical damage. A stick of chalk from the stationer cost a farthing and lasted weeks. Stonemasons recommended this method for maintaining memorial tablets in churches, and it remained standard practice until commercial marble polishes appeared in the 1960s. Those modern products often contain mild acids that etch the surface with each application, slowly dulling the very stone they claim to protect. The chalk method builds up a gentle protective film that improves the stone with each cleaning. Number 5. Lavender water as linen freshener. Victorian housewives distilled their own lavender water by steeping dried lavender flowers in boiling water, straining the liquid and storing it in glass bottles. This fragrant water was sprinkled over ironing, misted onto bed linens, and dabbed onto handkerchiefs. It served as both freshener and mild antiseptic, the natural oils in lavender being effective against several common bacteria. A bunch of dried lavender cost tuppence from the market, and a single batch of water lasted the household a month. The scent was light and clean, nothing like the cloying synthetic lavender in modern fabric softeners. Those softeners coat fibers with a waxy residue that reduces absorbency and traps odors over time. Victorian lavender water left fabric softer through the ironing process and smelling genuinely fresh. The tradition of lavender bags in drawers persisted into the 1950s, but faded when synthetic alternatives promised the same effect from a plastic bottle. Number 4. Cold tea wood floor polish. Once the tea had gone cold and the pot was finished, Victorian housewives did not waste the last dregs. They strained the cold tea and used it to mop wooden floors. The tannins in black tea darkened and enriched the color of bare wood, disguised light scratches, and left a soft, natural sheen without any stickiness. A pot of leftover tea cleaned an entire room. The method was so effective that furniture restorers in the Victorian period recommended it for reviving dull woodwork before applying beeswax. The tannic acid also has mild antibacterial properties, adding a hygienic benefit to the visual one. When polyurethane floor sealants arrived in the mid-20th century, bare wood floors disappeared under thick varnish that trapped dirt in any scratch. The cold tea method worked because Victorian floors were waxed, not varnished, allowing the tea to interact directly with the wood grain. Anyone restoring original pine or oak floorboards to their natural finish would find this method still produces a warmer result than any commercial floor cleaner. Number 3. Newspaper and ash for glass oven doors. Victorian range ovens developed a film of baked-on grease that no cloth could shift. The solution was devastatingly simple. Dampen a sheet of newspaper, dip it in cold wood ash from the fireplace, and rub the glass or enameled surface in firm circles. The fine alkaline ash particles cut through carbonized grease, while the newspaper provided just enough abrasion to polish without scratching. 5 minutes of rubbing and the surface was spotless. The potassium carbonate in wood ash is a natural degreaser, chemically similar to the active ingredients in modern oven cleaners, but without the fumes that force you to ventilate the kitchen for hours. A Victorian housewife could clean her oven door between courses without anyone at the table noticing a smell. Today, we spray caustic foam, seal the oven shut, and wait 4 hours. She used waste from the fireplace and waste from the breakfast table, and finished in the time it takes to brew a cup of tea. Number 2. The feather duster hierarchy. Victorian housewives did not use one duster for everything. They kept a strict hierarchy. An ostrich feather duster for delicate ornaments and picture frames, because the soft barbs trapped dust without scratching gilding. A turkey feather duster for shelves, mantels, and skirting boards. And a goosewing brush for sweeping hearths and tight corners. Each tool was purpose-built by nature, and each one lasted for years with proper care. The ostrich feathers were washed annually in warm, soapy water, dried in sunlight, and returned to service. The static charge in natural feathers attracted and held dust particles, rather than redistributing them into the air. Modern synthetic dusters and microfiber cloths generate far less static and push fine dust around, rather than capturing it. A good ostrich feather duster purchased in 1890 for 2 shillings could still be in service in 1930. We buy packs of disposable dusting cloths every month and wonder why the mantelpiece is dusty again by Tuesday. And finally, number 1. The weekly household airing. Above all individual tricks and methods, the single most effective Victorian cleaning habit was the full household airing. Every week, ideally on a dry morning, every window in the house was thrown open. Bed linens were stripped and hung outside or draped over windowsills. Mattresses were turned, cushions were beaten in the garden. Curtains were drawn back to their fullest extent. Rugs were hung over the washing line and beaten with a carpet beater until no more dust rose. The entire house breathed. This was not casual ventilation. It was a deliberate, systematic flush of stale air, moisture, dust, and the invisible accumulation of a week's living. Victorian doctors recommended it. Household manuals demanded it. Neighbors noticed if you skipped it. The practice addressed problems we now solve with dehumidifiers, air purifiers, mold sprays, dust mite treatments, and fabric fresheners, all in a single free hour of open windows and physical effort. Indoor air quality studies have confirmed what the Victorians instinctively knew. Modern sealed homes trap moisture, allergens, and volatile organic compounds from the very cleaning products we use to make them fresh. The weekly airing solved problems we have spent billions creating. It cost nothing. It required no products. And it worked better than anything in your cleaning cupboard. Here is my challenge. Try one of these this week, just one. The vinegar window clean, the tea leaf carpet sweep, the cold tea floor polish, or the soda crystals under the sink. Then come back and tell me if your great-grandmother was just being old-fashioned or if she actually knew something the cleaning aisle does not want you to discover. Share which one you are going to try in the comments. I want to know if the beeswax polish gets more love than the newspaper and ash oven cleaner. Because these were not just habits. They were a complete system that kept homes spotless for pennies. The cleaning industry spent decades convincing us we needed their products. Your great-grandmother needed a lemon, a box of soda crystals, and an open window, and her home was cleaner than yours.